In the last video of Minyang Dao, we learned about the circulatory system and how it affects an athlete's performance. In this video, we will talk about the components of blood and their functions, blood clotting, and the immune system of line defense. First, we will look at the components of blood and their functions. First, to be able to see the different components of blood, we will use a centrifuge and spin the blood around so we can see the three components of blood. Now that we see the components of blood, the blood is composed of red blood cells, also known as erythrocytes. This makes up 44% of the blood. The white blood cells, also known as leukocytes, along with platelets, makes up 1% of the blood. And lastly, 55% of blood is composed of plasma. Each one has a role to help Minyang Dao's performance during games. Now let's talk about their functions. Plasma has a lot of different roles in the body. The main role of plasma is to transport nutrients, hormones, proteins, and waste products. Your plasma is made out of 3 proteins, each has different functions. Those proteins are albumin, globulin, and fibrinogen. The albumin's function is to help maintain the osmotic pressure. The globulins produce antibodies to fight off infections, and the fibrinogen helps with the blood clotting. All these proteins are able to help Minyang get advantages during games. Next is erythrocytes. Erythrocytes' main responsibility is to transport oxygen to the body and also help transport carbon dioxide to the lungs and out. Minyang needs oxygen everywhere in his body. This would increase the muscle's performance. Third and last, leukocytes. Leukocytes' role is to help the immune system to fight off any infections. Minyang needs this to fight off invaders in order to not get sick for games. Now let's look at blood clotting. In the sport of basketball, there's a lot of bumping and scratching. In order to make sure that Minyang Dao doesn't die in a basketball game, the blood has to clot to prevent pathogens from entering the body. When a blood vessel is damaged, blood could leak into the tissue and form a bruise, or if the skin is broken, to openly bleed. To prevent this from happening, blood clotting occurs. So let's take a look at how this happens. Starting with platelets, these are tiny cell fragments that float around in our blood. When a blood vessel is damaged, collagen is exposed. This collagen exposure attracts platelets to the injured area, and the platelets would then stick together to form a plug. Since the plug is not that strong, it needs fibrin to hold the platelets together and form a stronger platelet plug. Now that we covered up blood clotting, what other defenses are there? The immune system has 3 lines of defense in order to protect the body from harmful pathogens. The first line of defense is to prevent invaders from entering the body. This includes the skin, which acts as a barrier, and mucous membrane, which produces mucus to trap and kill invaders. The second line of defense targets a wide range of invaders. This includes macrophages, inflammatory responses to get the pathogens out of the body. The third and last defense is to destroy. This targets specific pathogens and is done in a process. The helper T cell will first identify the pathogen's antigen. The helper T cell will release chemical to another leukocyte, which activates B cells. B cells will then produce antibodies specifically for the pathogen. Then the killer T cell will kill the pathogen. After it's killed, the suppressor T cell will then stop the killer T cell. Finally, memory T cell will grab antigen from the pathogen to remember if they were to invade again. A good immune system is very important in sports. Whenever Minyang gets an injury or cuts on the skin, this will weaken him and make him more vulnerable to pathogens. But luckily, due to our knowledge of blood clotting, we know that clotting can help repair the first line of defense, allowing Minyang to recover. Being able to play consistently every game means that Minyang Dao's immune system has to perform in a high level in order to keep him healthy.